Oh my! Hold on, Ryan. Let me just tell you now. Let me tell you. I just got an alert on my phone. Yes, I watched the game. How about this? 12 straight dubs for Huskies. 12 straight dubs. Say it with me, Ryan. 12 straight what?
12 straight dubs, baby.
Oh, straight dubs. Aaliyah Edwards and Lopez Senechal combined for 51 points in number 5 UConn's 84-67 win over Tennessee. Ryan, and it actually says highlights and more. Well, guess what? We don't have the highlights, but we have more talk. UConn Huskies women's basketball talk. It's Phil and Ryan. Listen up, presented by Dempsey's of Sports Land. Oh my goodness. This is the first one off of the checklist as far as the tough schedule, the heart of the regular season schedule, Ryan. I'll let you get right on down into it. I appreciate you joining me here tonight, as it's just minutes ago. We have a final score. It looked a little bit shaky there for a while, and people will complain about. I can't wait to see what you had to say. People will complain about the actual some of the refs, the calls, the bad calls they were making. I know Gino, even though he's probably not allowed to go in the press conference and complain name by name. I mean, I'm sure he's not happy with some of the calls. You told me that. But not only that, do you think that and I'll get to it. I'll let you go. I promise. There's so much I had to say about this one, man. It's amazing. But do you think every night you're going to come out with perfect refereeing? No. And it could so happen I know I'm going to say the word again, March. It could happen in March Madness. I actually like this game. You know why? Because it was tough adversity on the table, and they came through again. The UConn Huskies came through again. Ryan, what I found very interesting, UConn never trailed in this whole ball game. That's it. Boom, done. Send it over to you on this late Thursday. Cannot believe it.
Well, they were definitely up for the task, and that this was a really good quality win for UConn, that's for sure. Same starters tonight for UConn, 8 healthy players for the 3rd straight game. UConn look pretty good in that first quarter. A lot of good passes. Nika hit a 3 to start the game, and usually when Nika Mule can hit from downtown, she's going to have a pretty good game. 7 assists for Nika Mule in that first quarter. Aaliyah was cleaning up the offensive glass, dominating down low as usual. Lou had a couple nice shots. UConn was able to get a lot of open shots in that first quarter. Tennessee just couldn't guard them. No turnovers as well in that first quarter for UConn. I don't think they could have started off the game much better than what they did. 33-17 at the end of the first quarter. And I mentioned no turnovers. Well, that changed pretty quickly in the second quarter. 5 turnovers for UConn. I think it was 3 or 4 in a row. It allowed Tennessee to get back into the game, gave them a little momentum, a lot of momentum, actually. Tennessee was a lot more aggressive on both sides of the ball. We saw them cut the lead to just 4 points. And Gino, like you said, he was livid about those calls in that second quarter. He just stormed off the halftime interview there with Holly Rowe. He was pretty mad. And even Rebecca Lobo said she never really seen him that mad before. But in the third quarter, that same intensity continued between both of these teams. They were fired up the whole entire game, really giving it their all out there. And this was really just a great basketball game to watch. UConn started to get a little bit into the foul trouble, and we can talk about bad calls all day. Like you said, referees obviously aren't going to be perfect. It's going to happen from time to time. But I think that's something that's going to hurt UConn possibly, especially with Caroline and AZ being out. And Gino doesn't like to play his bench to begin with, but we know UConn can score in bunches, and that's kind of what they did in the third quarter.
A game of runs.
Had really good quarters, really good games from Lou and Aaliyah tonight. Their playmakers for UConn found ways to get open and make shots. A lot of whistles after that first quarter. Officials had quite the busy night, you could say, but UConn closed it out in that fourth quarter. They were able to hang on. They kind of ballooned the lead a little bit there and made it kind of the final score 84-67 wasn't really telling of just how close intensity battle of a game that this was. But I think a couple of notes to end it off here. I think UConn just allowed way too many offensive rebounds for Tennessee. That's something Gino and the coaching staff stressed to the team about, not allowing Tennessee to get a lot of second chance points. But Tennessee did get a lot of offensive rebound and second chance points. But I think overall, UConn, with only 8 healthy players, I think Nika Mule played the whole game, and maybe a couple other players did as well. Just an all-out tremendous effort, like always. UConn gave it all again tonight in a very hostile environment, probably a sold-out crowd there in Knoxville, Tennessee. So great game from everybody tonight, and UConn gets the job done yet again.
Man, I tell you what, man, it's throughout all the comments, man, the good and the bad, man. We definitely get criticized quite a bit, man. But one thing stands for sure, man, and that's I saw somebody agree with both of us. I mean, I'm the one that said it, but both of us had agreed, man, that this team has heart. And that just proved yet again tonight, because again, not only the refereeing, the bad calls, and yeah, I admit they were some bad calls, but not only that, man, you're going to come out with and I strongly believe it's going to happen down the stretch. I don't know against what team. I can't tell you that. I wish I could, but it's going to happen where teams are going to push you to the brink, especially when it closes in at halftime. I hope it doesn't happen as far as closing in on late in the fourth quarter, but it's going to happen. All right. You might as well figure it's going to happen, because this is a team that is very good, but at the same time, they're struggling as far as the injuries go. But we hope, as far as like Easy Foot, I saw. Now I'm not starting anything. It's just some not rumors, but some comments that in some people's opinion, AZ Fudd could be shut down for the year. I mean, that would be heartbreaking to me, after what she has gone through as far as a great stretch of basketball this season. But at the same time, not only with the referees, but I'm talking about just Tennessee taking over the momentum there right before half, and the way that they pulled together and just fought as a team. Hats off to Tennessee. But again, this is even bigger for you and I, and for everybody else that watches this podcast, for UConn Huskies women's basketball fans in general, because it speaks volumes that not only you can say people out there, they have their own opinion. I'm going with Tennessee as one of the more elite teams, all right, in college basketball, in women's college basketball. You can have people out there, Ryan, that disagree. Nah, Tennessee's really not that good. UConn had this game from the beginning. Or you have people out there to say Tennessee is one of the hottest teams in basketball. All right, so it goes either way. You got to balance it out and see what I mean. At any rate, UConn came out and proved that they can stay. I don't give a damn if it's the worst team in the nation, all right? UConn proved that they can stick around when adversity sets in. And that's really the key thing that I took out of this, because we talk about it every year, and it's fine how UConn dominates some opponents and doesn't dominate some other ones, but still comes out with the win. That's what matters the most, right? And I remember I talked to you about this. It seems like there's always a turning point on this podcast every regular season. And I think this was the one, because not only was it against, in our opinion, one of the top teams in basketball right now, but they hung around. They hung around, man, when this Husky team could have really fell apart in the third and fourth quarters, but they didn't. They hung around and they got the win.
Well, and Tennessee had a 9-game win streak headed into this game, and UConn with 11 and now 12. So definitely both of these teams were hot coming in, and I completely agree with that. And like Jason said, and we kind of talked about it a little bit during the last check-in, this was going to be a test for UConn, even though Tennessee had 6 losses now with 7. They're an unranked team, so people from the outside may think that, well, Tennessee isn't really that good. They're not ranked. They have 7 losses, but this is a very talented team with a good head coach. All the players know what they're doing. Tennessee has always been good for quite a while. And this is a tremendous historic rivalry, and I think that just played into the kind of intensity the whole night. But Tennessee is obviously a really, really good team, and I think this is a really good test for UConn, because I think sometimes UConn just blows all of their conference teams out of the water, even though the conference teams are getting a little bit better, but obviously not on the type of level that UConn is at. So I think this game and the South Carolina game as well, Villanova is going to be another good test. We turn around to that game quickly on Sunday, but yeah, I mean, these type of games, and like you said, it's just kind of a turning point in the regular season where UConn kind of finds out that, this is where we need to start really picking up the pace, continuing the energy, continuing this winning streak that they're on right now. But yeah, I mean, this was just a tremendous all-around game for UConn. Great win against a great Tennessee team on the road.
Just when I told you about the attack inside the Huskies, they improve a lot tonight on the 3 ball. I was actually very impressed, and it made me smile a lot. And especially the player that I was high on, mind you, yet again, here we go. The player I was high on heading into my preseason picks, Dorka Juhas.
Yeah, and how about Lou Lopez again? She's had
Oh my.
quite a couple
And
good
Aubrey, I mean, we
games.
could go on and on, right? Because we always get criticized. Oh, well, you left this name out. You left that name out. I don't want to cut you off there, Ryan, but and even Aubrey Griffin. I mean, she appears out of nowhere. Her athletic ability to pick off passes and draw fouls. Like, come on, man. Like, you can't get that out of every single basketball player in the nation. It's just something. It seems like each player going down the roster for this specific team, they all hold a certain talent that you almost can't teach it, right?
Yeah, and it kind of is like they all have a certain role, and I think
Mm-hmm.
it always takes a while for every team to kind of figure out what player plays in each role. But I think UConn just comes in every season, and of course it's due to Gino and much of the coaching staff as well. They do such a great job with all these players getting them ready. But it seems like day one UConn, all of these players on the team, no matter how many injuries or whatever adversities they might go throughout the whole entire season, the team has always showed up and ready to play, and each player kind of knows what their role is, and it doesn't
Yeah.
seem to matter what the starting lineup is. But Lou Lopez tonight, 26 points, season high, 4 3-point shots made out of 6. But yeah, I mean, Lou Lopez, these past couple games, she's really been on a tear, and I know Gino's really high on her. A lot of people are, and she doesn't really get that much recognition, but she's really just made a tremendous offensive impact for this UConn Huskies team this season.
Again, fourth straight victory, that is for UConn over Tennessee. Ryan, again, the final score, Connecticut 84, Tennessee 67. How about we get into some comments, because our subscribers have earned that. They came through very well yet again on that last video. And then we will go to bed. Sound good, man? Because I tell you what, I don't know about you, but I'm pretty darn tired. Hey, I wanted to actually shout out very quickly to a certain, I won't mention his name just out of respect until I get to know him better, but certain University of Maryland student, man, he's actually from, actually ran into him today. Didn't get the chance to talk to him, but we may have to put him on the podcast sometime. He's actually from Connecticut. So I know I had mentioned to a group of people, I think he overheard about you and I on the podcast. So I thought it was pretty cool that I got to meet him all the way down here in Maryland, and he's from Connecticut. Anytime now you run into people and they say, "Oh yeah, I'm from up north or Connecticut," you're like, okay, well, first, if they don't tell you exactly where they're from, all of a sudden pops, and I know you told me too, it's like all of a sudden it pops in your mind. Okay, are you from Connecticut?
Yeah,
Yeah.
Connecticut just means more UConn Huskies fans. We love to have everybody on the podcast, and like we keep saying, hopefully we can get some fans on the podcast very soon.
All right, so Daniel Ring goes, you guys need to pay. Now, tell me if I'm right or wrong on this. Daniel Ring goes, you guys need to pay more attention to women's basketball. Tamari Kelly, their 6'6" center for Tennessee. Ooh, 6'6". Good thing she was out, Ryan. Tamari Kelly, their 6'6" center for Tennessee, has been ruled out for the season because of blood clots in her throat. Now, that is definitely, our prayers go out to Kelly. Now, obviously, I'm just saying it was good that she was out, not because of blood clots, but just because of it was already scary enough for UConn. So good thing that 6'6", highly talented player was not in, because it could have spelled more trouble for UConn as far as getting the victory. But again, we pray for Kelly. We hope she's okay from as far as the blood clots go. But I think that I told you, did I not, that I mentioned on the last check-in that two players, I didn't mention their names, but I was aware that two big time players for Tennessee had been ruled out before the season even started. I think one was for personal reasons. And then thanks to Daniel Ring, he told me that one was because of medical condition. That was blood clots in her throat. So I think that you and I were already aware.
Yeah, and prayers go out to her for sure, and hope for a speedy recovery, because that doesn't really sound like the best injury that you could have. But yeah, I mean, and that just kind of goes into what we've said a couple of times, and I know we talked about it a lot when we had Maria on the podcast about the overall just kind of everything surrounding women's basketball. Hard to find news, hard to find injury updates, and we try to communicate back and forth as much as we can and try to find out as much information. And that's why we have you guys that comment and tell us anything that we miss, of course. So yeah, obviously we'll try to do a better job, but I thought you did mention that in the last check-in. But I mean, that just goes back to just in general, women's basketball doesn't get covered enough.
Yeah, no, I definitely did go back and look at it. Lindsey Matthews, I think there are a few good things about what has happened to our team with injuries this year. One is that it's possible that other teams will write them off and not focus on beating UConn. The other thing is that UConn has had a chance to develop the bench in a way to bring out the best in every player. Well, I mean, say what you want, Ryan, but I think that this win tonight, not only this win, but again, the stretch that we talk about or that we have talked about coming up, I don't think anybody's going to overlook UConn if they continue to stack, especially around this time of the year.
No, and I kind of just feel like, UConn only with two losses, Notre Dame and Maryland, obviously two pretty good teams. And I just feel like it's kind of just expected that UConn is always going to have a good season with all the success that they've had and all the national championships and whatnot. So I think most of the national coverage, I think everybody just kind of expects this out of UConn. And no matter what happens to the team, everybody just thinks that UConn is guaranteed to win, and we certainly know that that's not always the case, because we know all the struggles that this team really goes through. But yeah, I mean, I agree with that. All these injuries just means more time for players that we didn't really think would play that many minutes this season. But I think going forward, as hopefully we get AZ back and Caroline back at some point, I really don't think Gino's going to play the bench too much. And by bench, I mean probably Amari and Ines and maybe even Ayana. But I mean, the way UConn's been rolling with all these injuries so far, it's pretty incredible.
And the next name to get called upon, Denise Dillon has the very tough task. She has a tough task of bringing her Villanova Wildcats into the XL Center to try to stop this bleeding that all other teams have been going through when they face the UConn Huskies nowadays. Sometimes things in life go, you just don't have any words, man. You're speechless. Sometimes there's nothing to say. And I think this is one of them times. It's look up the definition of a miracle, man. And I think that you'll totally agree. But for now, it's Phil and Ryan. Listen up. And Ryan, I hope to join you for the last check-in. Not sure if we can get to that yet, but at any rate, we will definitely be back here for the game recap. Again, XL Center, Villanova Wildcats, number 21, and the Connecticut Huskies on January the 29th at 2:00 tip-off. Ryan, have a great championship weekend.